team advising on innovative financing structures for cross-border asset-backed securitization and collateralized loan obligation deals. His interests lie at the intersection of finance, capital market securitization, ESG, environmental law, and clean energy. He's an alumnus of the New York University Law, where he was also the university student ambassador to the New York City Bar Association and a member of the New York City Bar Association's Energy Committee. He is an International Finance Corporation Fellow of New York University's IFD Fellowship. Prior to his current role, he worked at Templars, Lagos, Nigeria, where he advised on and structured deals at the intersection of energy and project, finance and environmental law. There, he was a part of the team that advised a syndicate of lenders on the dual currency senior secured financing of $650 million annual gas processing projects. One of Nigeria's 7 strategic gas projects expected to deliver 1,200 megawatts of power for Nigeria. As part of his volunteer work, in 2015, he founded Earth Plus, an environmental nonprofit organization delivering sustainable environmental solutions across Africa. Through policy influencing, he is also a fellow of both Barack Obama Young African Leaders Initiative, YALI, Regional Leadership Center Fellowship, and U.S. Carrington Youth Fellowship. In 2018, he was one of 50 delegates to the African Union Ideation Forum in Gaborone, and in 2017, one of 17 delegates from across Africa, trained on climate reporting by Climate Tracker in Addis Ababa. In 2016, he was named one of 20 young peace builders in Africa by the United Nations Alliance of Civilization. He has spoken at various events on energy and the environment, including the 2018 African Bar Association Conference in Nairobi and TEDx OAU. He is happily married to his sweetheart, Uzoma. Wow, I'm so eager to learn valuable lessons from you, sir, on how to develop global mindsets. Our speaker, Mr. DAY1, will be speaking for 25 minutes. Thereafter, he will take questions from the audience for 15 minutes. So do well to note your questions or drop them in the chat box. No worries, sir. I'll prompt you 10 minutes to the end of your session. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in giving a warm welcome to Mr. DAY1. Thank you so much for being here, sir. You have the floor now.
I was muted. Thank you so much, guys. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon from here. Good evening from there. It's great to speak with you guys. It's great to see all of you. Well, it's great to see you on. And thank you so much for everyone who has put this together. Thank you, Oluwapelumi. Thank you also for the introduction. Who introduced me? What's your name? What's the name of the person who read the introduction? Okay. Thank you very much for that introduction. Okay, so let's dive right into it. This year I have 25 minutes. So developing a global mindset. What exactly does that mean? When I saw the topic, I reached out to Adebola to say, what really do you want me to talk about? What is the aim of this conversation? What do you want the people here to get to know about? And, just ruminating over the topic over time, as well as just speaking to the Holy Spirit whom I speak to a lot of times, and just asking what exactly is going to be best useful for the people here today. I think I got some insight into something or things to share that would help us develop a global mindset. So I'll start by asking, and I want this to be, at least this first bit of it, to be as interactive as possible. What do you think a global mindset means? What do you, when you hear it, what do you imagine that it is? If anyone has answers, it would be nice to hear. Just put it in the chat if you want, unmute and speak if you want. What is a global mindset? Probably put your hand up and if I see your hand, I'll then call you, or you can type it into the chat. In your opinion, there are really no wrong answers. It's a very flexible term, and it will be great to hear what you understand by it before I start telling you how to develop it. When you saw this topic, or when you heard about the conversation, what did you think you were going to learn? Let's hear from you and see if our thoughts align. What is a global mindset? Anyone? I can see your name, so I could also call you if nobody decides to speak. Anyone? Happy to hear. Okay, I see hands raised up. Okay, Chantal. Oh, good to see you here. Yes, what is a global mindset? Please unmute. I don't know if you're able to unmute yourself. If you're not, okay, you can.
Okay, yes. Okay. Hi, Caleb. I'm so excited to listen to you speak. Okay. To me, a global mindset is thinking of us, our brands, our careers, our goals, more than the geographical limits of where we are, more than the geographical limits of our countries, and putting ourselves at the global scale mentally before even reaching there, improving our skills to meet global expectations and standards. It means we are training ourselves to be able to compete globally. So to me, that's what a global mindset means.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much. That was really good. Anyone else? I see some people in the chat. A mindset that doesn't give chance to mediocrity, from Tumishi, I believe. And from Miriam, a global mindset can be defined as a mindset not limited by one's present environment or circumstance. Joshi says, understanding global perspectives and challenges from a broader lens. And Oluwatobilova says, global mindset means having mindset and perspectives that are not restricted to your local environment. Awesome. You guys are killing it. Thank you so much. Thank you. I see all of you to be abreast with issues worldwide, not nationally anymore. Thank you, Mohammed. So you guys are great at this. And yes, you are all correct. It is simply thinking outside your individual box. Global mindset means thinking beyond borders. Thank you, Ernest. Thinking beyond your individual box. So global, as the word is around the world, is, the globe. And thinking outside your individual mindset means you're thinking globally. It means you are thinking beyond the present circumstances that you are, or that you grew up in, or that you are used to. Now, there is a very popular story, you've probably heard it a number of times, about how a couple of men or people were blindfolded and asked to touch a certain animal and sort of explain what the animal was. And they each touched different parts of the animal and began to explain. The animal turned out to be an elephant. And some of them are like, an elephant? Yes, an elephant is definitely a very slender, thin animal, because they were touching the trunk of the elephant. And another one says, oh, an elephant is just this very large animal, because they were touching, say, the torso or the backside of the elephant. And then another one says, well, an elephant has very sharp parts in the body, because they were touching, the tusks. And then, different people with different, and one touching the ears, like, oh, it's such a flappy, large base animal, because they were touching the ears. And so everyone had a different perspective of what the elephant was, simply because they were touching a different part of the elephant. And the person who is touching one part has a local mindset, and the other person who's touching the other part has a local mindset. But the one person who will then say, well, you are all correct because you touch different parts of the elephant, it has all of these parts. It has a tail, it has a trunk, it has its torso, it has large flappy ears, it has this wonderful eyes and everything. And each of them is able to say, or that one person is able to say, you're all correct because this animal indeed has all of these parts. So not one of you is wrong because you described it in a different way from the other person. All of you are indeed correct because you all described what you saw, but from different perspectives. But what will give each of the people that describe the elephant a global mindset is where they're able to understand that, because A, does not see the elephant in the same way I see the elephant doesn't mean that they're wrong. It means that their circumstance makes them not to be able to see the same thing I do in the same way, right? So that is a story that sort of helps us relate to this perspective. Now, how do we develop this global mindset? So we've talked about what a global mindset is, and we agree that it is thinking beyond your present circumstance, beyond the box that everybody is in, because truly everyone is created in some box of a kind. You have predilections, you have things that make you have an internal bias. You have predispositions towards certain things. Some of us, when we hear about cats, we feel that cats, mean a certain thing. Some people believe that a black hawk means a bad omen. Some people don't see it as anything. Some people believe that a certain kind of word represents something. Some people do not think it represents anything. Some people think that if you knock on wood twice, you are averting bad luck. And some people are like, what exactly is that? So it is these different boxes that we are born in that are formed by the places we grow up in and the things that we do that sort of determines how we turn out to be. But the good news is that as an individual, you can overcome that individual box that you are born in and begin to think outside that box, begin to think globally, begin to think in a different way, begin to understand other perspectives and other people and how these people relate, what they do, their culture, their way of thinking, and what the world is looking for globally. And I have a couple of notes on, or a couple of tips on how to develop a global mindset. Now, the first one is understanding that the world is a global village. We've been hearing this thing since we were in secondary school, since I was in secondary school. The world is a global village, but trust me, it is no less true today than it was a couple of years ago. In fact, it is more true because what is happening is that the world is shrinking every day, not in size, literally, but in how interconnected the world is. We are connected today more than ever before. The world, people are able to travel easier. People are able to connect easier over the phone, over technology is helping things to be so easy. People are there are people who have worked with people for years and they've never met them in person. There are people businesses are operating right here from the United States with their workers out of, Asia, which is maybe some 8 or 10 hours away in terms of time zones, or from Africa, which is, from 5-6 hours away. And all of these people are working together. So much is happening across the globe. There's a lot of movement of money. FinTech is so big because money is moving globally. People are paying for things, buying things, ordering things, the world is so global that we're seeing an increase in people even getting jobs. People who with local qualifications are able to get jobs in foreign jurisdictions simply because, one or two things they added to themselves as a skill set that is being looked for globally. So the question is, what do you want to leave here with today? I want you to leave here, one, understanding that you can there's a lot out there that you can take advantage of from the place that you are. And by the time you leave here, you're able to see the world in a different perspective from what you've seen it before and begin to understand that there are things that you can do outside the box that you have probably been thinking in before. So the first thing is the world is a global village. Understand that and it would help you. This means that everything is not happening locally anymore. Now, for some of you who are aware, there's the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, and that designates the area to be a continental free trade area. Now, while that is still developing, we know the effect of this globally is that, or effect of this in Africa is that there's going to be a lot of free movement of trade of people, of goods and services across the continent, which will change a lot of things. So the world is beginning to think of ways to open up. For those of you who follow the news, you will also know that the BRICS countries, which usually is just Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, have met and decided to admit a couple more nations, which is now making it BRICS plus. So we have more nations in that small that small group of countries before is now bigger. We have more nations coming in. And part of the things that they're deciding to do is to say, you know what, why are we so big countries and we're trading in the dollar? Let's begin to trade in another currency that is one currency that would all use throughout the BRICS countries. And then we're seeing Nigeria, as well as the ECOWAS countries, begin to think of, and in fact, the larger Africa begin to think of, can we have a singular African currency? Although we don't know how far away we are from that. But all of these things is just showing you that there is movement towards shrinking the world even more than it was before. So that's the first thing. Now, another thing I'd like to say, just as a footnote, but a very important footnote, is that a global mindset is not about Jackpot. A global mindset is not about Jackpot. So for some of you, when you came on this session, it's like, okay, we're going to hear how to Jackpot easily, or, faster ways to Jackpot, or, the routes, the tunnels and tubes to move out of the country easier. It's not. That's not a global mindset. And let me tell you why. Because there are people in the countries you're trying to go to, in the US, where I am, and across the world, who were born here and do not have a global mindset, are as local as they come, right? A global mindset is more than traveling out of your country to go and live elsewhere. A global mindset is, I will be showing you a couple of things that it means, but just to highlight that it's not about Jackpot. It's not about, I have to leave my country to get a global mindset. You can leave your country and still have a very local mindset. Now, the next thing is understanding the global workplace and the skills that are being sought. That's how you step outside of your box. Now, this is something that everyone here should be interested in, because I know we're all either law students or students of other professions, or law school, or professionals working. And what you need to think of, even as a student, even more, in fact, as a student, you have more time and more advantages to think of these things before you get out of school. What are the global workplace demands? What are the demands of the global workplace, the ideal workplace of the world of the future right now? What is it asking for? What are the skills that are being required and requested? So you're not more just looking at, oh, what skills does this law firm require? Or what skills do these organizations that I'm trying to get into require? You're asking yourself, what skills are required at a global playing field? Now, the fine thing that you do is to meld the requirements of the local workplace with the global workplace. Meaning that you're not just saying, okay, what skills they require in Asia? No, you're saying what skills are common across the nations of the world, across companies that operate across various jurisdictions, across what skills are common when you're looking to work globally. And also what skills are necessary in the local jurisdiction that I am in Nigeria. Now, how do I meld those things? How do I make them find a nice meeting point? The truth is, you would find that a number of the skills required globally are also required locally, or just at a lower level, or a lot of the skills required locally are also required globally, but at a higher level. So something you can then begin to do is to say, well, I know that globally they require this exam or this test. Now, I'm not saying you should go start looking to take the New York bar as a student who is just in Nigeria. And I mean, you're barely even finished your undergrad. No. I'm saying the skill sets rather than the qualifications. So the qualifications are very different. You say, okay, now I finished from Nigeria, I want to go to New York, I want to go to California, and I want to take the California or the New York bar. Those are things you have to do later in your life when you've made those decisions. But there are skill sets that and usually they are soft skill sets, soft skills, and in some cases, some technical skills. Now, what soft skill sets are organizations around the world looking for? Leadership skills, and analytical skills. They're looking for you to have communication skills. Those things are things that you have an advantage if you start learning from now, rather than waiting until you get into the workplace and start to learn them. How do you learn them? You participate, which is one of the points I have here. Get involved. Look for opportunities to serve, grow, and volunteer. That's how you gain these skills for the global workplace. Now, a number of you have these opportunities on your campuses if you're a student. Look, my student life was one of the best times of my life. And I keep telling people, don't waste your student life. If you're still a student here, you have tremendous opportunities. Absolutely do not waste your student life, because as a student, people give you a lot of pass-throughs. There are a lot of waivers and allowances that they give that they'll never give once you're not a student anymore. And so you have to take advantage of it, use that time, get involved in organizations, get involved in places that need volunteers. As a student, I was involved in TEDx, volunteered for TEDx. I was involved in a number of organizations on my campus. There's ISEC, there's JCI, and these are global organizations. ISEC is global, JCI is global, TEDx is global, right? There are a number of other organizations that just expose you to that. I knew people who got involved in organizations that gained them jobs with Goldman Sachs right out of school. So literally they were finishing undergrad and going to work for Goldman Sachs. They did an internship with Goldman Sachs while in school, working out of the UK, and then they eventually were hired to become, they literally had nothing to do in the country once they finished school. They just moved and started working there, right? Again, the aim is not, oh, I have to go out of the country by all means, but essentially telling you that while some students were thinking, well, I'll just finish and just go work in that small business by the road, or I'll just finish and, go work in this place that I've been seeing every time I pass by. Not because that's where you really want to work, but because you've never thought beyond your borders. You've never thought, well, I can work for a global company. Well, I can, work for some institution that is all across the world, right? So you need to start serving, growing, and volunteering. That's how you get involved. Now, not just for those who are students, for those who are not students as well. My involvement in a number of things exposed me to that global mindset that I needed. I was a fellow of the Carrington Youth Fellowship. Some of you might have heard of it, some of you might have not. It's a fellowship of the United States government in Nigeria, out of Lagos, run by the US consulate in Lagos. Now, that opportunity exposed me to so much. I met leaders of industries because we had people like Bess McRuane, had people like Ndidi and Wineli come into our sessions to teach us, right? Having that access to them, to ask them questions, to interact with them. We had people from the US consulate, the US government constantly interacting with us. We went to communities to do projects. We were on the ground doing projects that helped build our ability to carry out things like that, to think, to analyze. We developed the project from scratch by ourselves, got the funding of the US government. We're able to sort of structure our project to match with the funding. Now, the skills I gained there, the network, the connection, the mindset, it was not a fellowship that took me out of the country, but it was one with which I opened my mind, I learned, I grew, I volunteered, and I served, right? So things like that, look out for them. YALI, I don't know, how much it is still running now, especially with the YALI regional. But then I was selected for the YALI fellowship. We went to Ghana. It was a couple of months, also just learning and growing and seeing. It was people from all over West Africa. So for about 60 days, we were together with people from different parts of the world, and we got to see how they did things. We learned about it. We understood it. So that is one thing that you have to also do. Look for opportunities to serve, to grow, and to volunteer. Now, like I said, understand the global workplace and the skills that are being sought. Now, I'll also put a footnote here that you do not have to work in a nonprofit to do good. Now, a lot of people, there is the nonprofit attraction, especially these days, that, well, I have to work in somewhere where we are feeding the poor, or, going to feed the hungry, or, taking care of those that are, disabled and all of that. Those are amazing things. I run a nonprofit back in Nigeria, but you don't have to work in a nonprofit to do good. So if you are somebody who's looking to work in big law in Nigeria or elsewhere, or looking to work in some big international company, and you're feeling bad, like, oh yeah, I don't think I'm doing the good that my friends are doing. Look at them, going into the communities and working with slum to school and everything like that. You can do good from wherever. The idea is determining what exactly it is you want to do, developing the skill set for it, and doing that work with the mindset of what is the ultimate goal of the work that I do, right? Because the skills you learn in the corporate workspace can be very useful for whatever other thing you want to do. Now, you can volunteer without having to work in that space. For instance, I can work in the corporate space and decide that I want to spend my weekends, or one weekend in a month, or a couple of days, whenever those organizations are running projects, to volunteer with them. And I volunteer 2-3 hours, and I do good. right? In that sense, you are volunteering. In fact, it is encouraged that you do not have just a circle around your work, that you have other circles like circles where you can volunteer. For some of you, it's within the church system, right? You volunteer with your church. Maybe you have a Red Cross unit within your church, or you have, a boys brigade or something that your church does, and you're part of it. That is amazing. I so much encourage church volunteering. Or outside that, or you're doing something like Carrington Youth Fellowship. For instance, while I was in Carrington, I was a student at the Nigerian Law School while I was a fellow. And I know people who are fellows and are working because it's not overly demanding, right? And so these are things you can do while still working at a corporate workplace. So if you're somebody that is in the corporate workspace already, or that's where you're looking to go, don't feel bad about it. You can do good from those places. Now, the next point is you can do big things from a small space, from a small place. Now, what do I mean by that? Like I said earlier, global mindset is not about japa, meaning that you can do the big things you want to do from a small place, meaning that from Nigeria, you can begin to do the big things you want to do by, first of all, understanding. I have 4 minutes left. Wow. Okay, don't worry. I'm going to be quick and rush through every other thing. By understanding that your local circumstance doesn't limit you to what you can do. The other thing I would say is skill up. And I think this relates to global workplace. So skill up, get the skills that are needed. Do not limit yourself to the skills that you have or that you learn from the local place that you are. Then build networks outside your country, outside your jurisdiction, outside, the small domain that you are. Some people, when you see invites from people on LinkedIn that I know from your country, are like, are you sure they are not scammers? I won't accept. Yes, there is that, chance or that danger, but at the same time, that's the only way you actually get to relate with. I know people who got opportunities by connecting with someone on LinkedIn outside their country, and they started talking. They're like, oh, well, I do this. Oh, that's great. We're looking for somebody to do this here, or there's this opportunity, and bam, before you know it, they are attending conferences or being part of something outside their country or working in a global role. That is how you do it. You got to build networks from, places like LinkedIn. I hop on LinkedIn because that's where I use the most, and it's a place to connect professionally. Use the internet. That's my next point. Learn about the world. Be curious. Now, the internet that you have is not just for, going on Instagram, although that you could have very great learning opportunities there, but be intentional about learning about the world. What happens in this country? What's the news going on in this place currently? What's happening in this part of the world? What are the opportunities that are opening up in these places and that place? What is the culture like, right? And then tying this very closely to travel, guys. Now, I know when I say this, it might appear, well, you can say that we don't have the money to travel. Look, I would have said this a couple of years if I was on that side of, on your side. But if I knew what I know now, a couple of years, I wouldn't have said it. That you can plan travels into your savings in such a way that you will be able to make trips. Now, I don't have the time to expand on that, but Money Africa is a community. I remember telling someone recently to join that community, and it helped her so much, in just saving her money and trying to put something good together for herself. That's a community that is worth joining, even as a student, because you will learn how to sort of save and put money together and get very cheap trips outside your country. Now, you don't have to, when I say travel, it doesn't mean you have to go to Dubai, because I know that's the first thing a number of people, travel. Okay, I don't have money for Dubai. You have money for Togo, Lomé, which is just beside Nigeria. You have money for Ghana, and you don't have to fly if it's that expensive. You can take the bus, and just have that experience of being in another country, make plans. Some of you have friends there. It's like, well, I have a friend in Ghana. I might as well come over there. And they're like, yeah, come over. We're happy to keep you for 3 days, 4 days. You see the place, you eat the food, you get to know the culture. Traveling opens your mind. I do not have time to share about my travel experiences, but my first travel experience was as a student. And it was through what I told you, serving, growing, volunteering. I was with the Mutamok team at the time. And I was going to thank you so much. I'm seeing your time notations. And then I was with the Mutamok team at the time, and I think I was a second-year law student, and it was my first competition outside the country, and it changed my life. Just going to, it was in Maputo, Mozambique. It was a different country, southern part of Africa, and it was just different. It was a different thing from what I had seen all my life. It was different people. And the good thing about it is that we had about almost 50 countries represented at the competition. It was the biggest mood competition in Africa. So it was like I was learning about so many cultures at once, hearing different accents at once, learning that, it was not just Nigeria that existed on the map. I mean, I knew that, but just seeing it in person was important. So please, try to travel as much as you can. Like I said, I don't have time to expand on this. Overcome racist and tribal bias. You need to start challenging the regular thinkings that you have been taught growing up. Oh, these people are, and some of us, we think that we have overcome it until you come in touch with people like that. You're like, oh, they're like this, oh, they're like that. Overcome it, right? There are racist biases that you don't regularly think about, but they are somewhere built into you, or tribal biases. The truth is you cannot overcome racist biases, which happen on a global scale, when you kind of overcome tribal biases. If you are biased, oh, this tribe, that, this tribe, this, then the likelihood that when you work in a global setting, you would have racist biases or assume that people have racist biases towards you is very high. So you need to overcome that and challenge the regular thinking that you have been taught all your life. Then I think I have one or two more points. Okay, I think I have covered everything actually. So I think my final point is try to learn a new language. Now that I haven't fully come to that end yet in terms of learning a new language myself, but I know how much useful it can be to you if you learn a new language. I know people who have gotten jobs simply because they could speak a second language. If you're trying to develop a global mindset, it's important that you start investing in learning a language. I did start learning French while I was in Nigeria. In fact, I was so good at French, well, in school, but then after that, no one to speak it to, and it just died out. But please don't be like me. Learn a new language. It's very important for your global mindset. I will stop here just because I know my time is up, and I know I've probably been seeing a couple of questions. If you guys allow me, I'll take them. But these are some of the steps or things that I think are necessary for you to move out of your own comfort zone and your small space and do big things. Money Africa, you can check them out on Instagram. Just check them out on Instagram, follow them. They have all of their plans and everything there. Okay, great. Someone was taking notes. Thank you, Titus.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much, Mr. Adebayo. Your session was really amazing. It was insightful. It was beautiful. Thank you so much, sir. From what I have learned from today's meeting, I know Jackpa does not mean I want to develop a global mindset at all. And I want people on this call to just take away that mindset and let's renew our mind. We must learn how to get necessary skills and build networks outside our domain. You can travel. You don't need to travel. You don't have to start big, US. You can start with Ghana. If you're in Africa, you can start with Africa. Thank you so much, sir. That was really insightful. All right. I can see some questions in the comments section. So the first question here is, what are the global demand skills?
Okay. Yeah, I see somebody, I don't know if it's the same question, but someone else says best global skills to acquire. What are the global skills on demand? Now, I did mention a couple of them, and to be honest, your job is to go find out. The internet is there for you. What are people demanding globally? What is the world seeing today? I know that Forbes usually sets out the top 10 skills required for the workplace. Literally, if you Google it now, you will see first 2-3 things that you Google will provide you with the answers. But one of the skills, I did mention them, communication skills. Everyone is looking for it. So as much as possible as a student or as someone working wherever, you want to start trying to learn writing. If you don't write great, you want to start writing great. You want to start learning speaking. All right, these are the methods of communication people are looking at, people who can write and speak, because these are the ways that things happen around the world. It's either you're writing or you're speaking in order to negotiate, in order to pass across a message, in order to push the agenda of a company or a community, in order to advocate for yourself. Literally, whether nonprofit or in the corporate world, writing and speaking are two skills that you absolutely require. So you want to build your writing skills, right? You want to build it out so that you're able to use it, and you want to build your speaking skills. I know there's an organization called Toastmasters. Some people decide to join them so they can develop their speaking. Sometimes you can also just develop it by volunteering to speak more, right? Volunteering for places where, you'll be required to talk, you'll be required to stand on a stage, stand before people, and little by little, you get better at it. And the same with writing. There are writing classes. I used to run a couple back in Nigeria. I don't anymore, but then there are classes that you can search for to take on writing. There's analytical skill, right? How are you able to analyze circumstances and situations and provide adequate responses? How brilliantly can you analyze them? There is leadership skill. Now, all of these things, look, most of them are built from actually working in organizations, especially things like volunteering, because what is required for you in volunteering is that you're responsible to someone. You probably are in charge of someone. You have timelines and deadlines you have to meet. You have reports you have to write. You have things you have to do. So all of these things will require certain skills to be built of you, right? Leadership skills. Those of us in our schools that are taking up a leadership role or another, that builds you for the global workplace, because, and you can talk to the people who, like I was talking about, people who from undergrad move to roles outside their country, global roles. Now, those people, the global companies looked at them and said, this guy is good enough to work with us because there's a skill they have that we need. Now, most of these people, if you check, they were involved in student organizations, volunteering, leading, being a part of it. And so they built out those skills. Leadership skills are skills that are built over time. So through leading in organizations, through, taking advantage of the opportunity to stand over people and sort of lead, and it doesn't have to be a big leadership. You don't have to be the student union president to have a leadership skill, right? With those skills that you gather, you are able to then utilize them in the global workplace. Leadership, communication, analytical abilities, problem solving. That is such a big skill. That's a skill that you learn on the job. You don't learn to solve a problem by reading about it. Oh, yeah. And then in the problem, you do this. Ask those who are, that work in emergency healthcare. It's not what the reading is helpful, but muscle memory happens when you actually do stuff. So through solving problems over and over, when working with people, you're able to solve problems in real organizations when they come. Teamwork. Right? People want to see that you're able to work in a team, work with other people, and not have friction all the time. You're not somebody that works today and you know what, I'm resigning. I can't work with this person. Tomorrow, good. Next tomorrow, you know what, I can't work with this person again. You have the ability to understand different kind of people. That's where emotional intelligence comes in. So these skills are skills that even in the local workplace, they'll help you, but they are required globally. Now, there are also the things like tech skills, right? They are also the hardcore, hard or technical skills that are sometimes required for certain roles, right? Okay, you need to have tech skills. You need to understand PowerPoint, how to do slides, how to understand how to work very well with Word, understand how to work with certain applications. Some people, some organizations, globally, they use things like Teams, Slack, use Zoom, use, all of these things that just help for planning and working. The first time I worked with Slack, it was with a volunteer organization. It was actually TEDx. So we were working on the TEDx team, sort of planning our next TEDx event, and they're like, hey guys, inviting you to join the Slack channel and like download. I'm like, what is Slack? But trust me, it was such a lovely time working and learning. Slack is so beautiful. There's just a lot that can be done with it, in terms of working with the team and planning. How to use Google Sheets, just sharing your work and each person do. See, these are things you learn by doing, by getting involved. So I have little time, so I can't talk too much. So I'll just take the next question. Let me see. What are some best practices we need to adopt while working with people of a different culture? Understand their culture. You need to make effort to understand it, right? The tendency we have is that we want to impose our culture on another set of people. Like, oh, well, we do this here. Oh, well, that's not how it's done. That's not how it's done is not very apt, because it could be done in any manner of different ways. It's that's not how it is done where you come from or where you are. Now, the most important thing at that point is to open your mind to say, well, how is it done in, where you come from? And they tell you, sometimes you realize that they are, in fact, it was while sharing with a guy from Brazil that I realized that they have a food in Brazil that is very similar to what we call akara in Nigeria. And it was so amazing listening to it and hearing it about what it is like, what it is made of, and how there are people that are, Blacks in Brazil who sort of have African roots, and perhaps that was how it came. And it was just so beautiful, right? Now, imagine that I was just not trying to hear or learn about their culture and just impose mine or think that, well, whatever you guys do doesn't make any sense. Ours makes a lot of sense. So it is by learning, and trust me, I work in a global law firm, and global in the true sense of it. We have offices across all the continents of the world. And I work with people, even out of New York. The people sitting in New York are very diverse from different parts of the world. And so every other day, I'm having conversations with people from different parts of the world who talk about how things are in their country, who have different accents, who speak in different ways, who see things differently. And so it's just being able to understand them, be genuinely curious about what they do and how they do things. And then, it's just so beautiful when you get to learn about it and have people that say, well, when you come to my country, I'm happy to host you and, and show you these things. So that's one way to make sure that you're able to work with them. Are there any other questions? If you want to travel to Ghana, what global mindset should you start developing before moving there in terms of their culture? You'd have to ask a Ghanaian. I'm not a Ghanaian, but they do have some interesting meals. And that was what I learned when I was there for the YALI program. It's a very nice place, to be honest. And they have really nice people, and there's a lot you can learn there as well. So you want to reach out to your Ghanaian friends or Ghanaian contacts and say, hey, yeah, there is Ghana Jollof, which is pretty beautiful. And then you just reach out to them, right? And I'm sure you'd have people in your network that are from Ghana. So yes. Any other question?
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Caleb. Really appreciate you. Thank you for accepting our invitation. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing with us so much insights. We are really, really grateful. And we also look forward to more impactful sessions in the future. Thank you so much, sir.
No problem at all. Thank you.
Sir. Yeah. So now I'll be handing over to Vanguard Payme, who will be moderating the discussion for the next session. Vanguard Payme, you have the floor now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vanguard Tufati. You did a very fantastic job. And thank you once again, Mr. Caleb Adebayo. Please, can we give Mr. Caleb a gigantic virtual round of applause? Thank you very much, sir. We're really blessed by your session. Yes, good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Oluwapemi Omotola Shoyinka, and I'm so excited to be the second moderator for today's session. So it is with much pleasure, so much pleasure, that I introduce to you the beautiful and intellectually sound Oyinkansola Oni. All right, the citation is up there. So before I go into our citation, I would like to share with us a recommendation of one of our teachers in the United States, Mr. Katayun Beshkadana, an assistant professor at Morgan State University, Graf School of Business and Management, said, I came to know Oyinkansola Oni Rebecca as my student in business negotiation class. During the class, Rebecca actively engaged in discussions and group exercises, and she brought a seasoned and different perspective to the class. She got an A in a very competitive final exam. Wow. I found Rebecca hardworking, professional, intelligent, contemplative, articulate, and driven. On the personal level, she is kind and thoughtful and a pleasure to work with. I confidently recommend Rebecca for potential employment, and I have no doubt that her ability can be an added value to any organization she gets engaged with. You can only imagine what kind of personality our speaker, Miss Rebecca, has, that a teacher will go this far to write something very beautiful about her. To my knowledge, Miss Oyinkosala has won several awards and honors to her name. For the sake of the students in our midst, Ms. Oyinkosala was issued an award for the most enterprising student of the year by the Department of Microbiology, University of Ilorin in 2015, and the award of the Female Entrepreneur of the Year. So this person that we have here today, you can see that she has all the evidence of being a great person, and she does not need to explain tire. So without further ado, I'll be taking Ms. Oyinkosala's citation. Oyinkosala Oni is a forward-thinking strategy and management professional who has continuously shown exemplary leadership, innovation, and creativity in her professional career, spanning several industries such as finance, retail, and technology. She currently works as a business program manager in cloud strategy, which is in the technology sector. She's a recipient of the Chartered Institute of Bankers Nigeria Next Generation Award, awarded to young exceptional bankers under 30. She's a member of the Nigerian Institute of Management and the Chartered Institute of Bankers Nigeria. She holds an MBA degree in strategy and information system at the Graf School of Business and Management, Morgan State University. She is a youth development advocate with over 7 years of active involvement in the social development space. She is passionate about creating opportunities and access in employment, skill development, leadership, and entrepreneurship for young people. She does this through a personal brand and social enterprise, Way Network Africa, a digital platform that connects undergraduates and young professionals aged 16 to 35 to career, business, and leadership sessions weekly from thought leaders reaching over 1,000 young people. In her 4 years plus of public speaking, she has worked with numerous social organizations by being a career, business, and personal development speaker via TV, radio, physical events, and webinars to thousands of young people globally. She continuously leverages social media to amplify youth development and connects young people to resources and opportunities through different programs such as resume and career coaching, millennial career conversation series, etc., and provides strategic consultation to youth-led businesses and on youth-focused social initiatives for private and non-profit institutions. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the inspirational, vibrant, beautiful, and renowned global icon, the Oyinkosala Oni. If your hands are not too busy, I want you to send in your virtual round of applause. I mean, that profile was a great one, and I'm so privileged to have been the one to read your profile, ma. Thank you very much, ma. So Miss Oyinkosala Oni will be taking us on building capacity for global relevance for the next 25 minutes. If you have any questions, please send them in through the chat box. Thank you very much. I will notify you, ma, in 10 minutes time to the end of your session. You can have the floor, ma. It's a pleasure to have you, ma. Thank you, ma.
Wow. I'm like, wait a second. The thoughts that went into the research, into, just the enthusiasm we're reading the profile. For a second, I'm like, is this me?
Yes, ma. Thank you, ma.
Chat, and I'm like, yeah, that's what I was thinking about. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pemi. Thank you for reading that and reading that excellently. It's like, wow, that's great. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you. To Debola as well, we invited me to this platform. Thank you so much, Debola. And to everyone that's listening to me right now, thank you so much for being here. And thank you for investing in your own personal development. It's such a pleasure to, to be here. It's also a pleasure to be in the midst of people who are taking learning as a priority. It's very inspiring. So I will say thank you to everyone. I'm going to start with sharing my screen, and please let me know when you can see my screen as well. So, okay. Okay. So can you see my screen? All clear?
Yes, we can see it, ma'am. It's clear.
Okay, perfect. So thank you, and it's a pleasure to be here once again. My name is Oinko Oni, and it's good to be joining the Vanguard Africa. I kind of need my chat control so that I can, be able to focus on this. But if there's anything in the chat or anything that pops out to you or any question you need me to address, please let me know. Maybe you can let me know. So today we're talking on building capacity for global relevance. And before I start, I really like how, Caleb set the tone with building a global mindset. Caleb and I served together actually in Cross River in Calabar back in 2016, 2017. And it was my first time of meeting Caleb during that time. And you could just tell that this person is going somewhere. It's not just going global, but is making a difference. From there, just following through his progress and everything, and he's been phenomenal. To me, he's an inspiring, very, very inspiring professional, very inspiring individual. And I'm so glad that, he set the tone with building a global mindset. I was listening to it. I'm like, okay, Gayla, you need to tell us how, all this profile, doing this and that, you need to tell us how you did all of that. So I'm glad that came before this meeting. So now we're talking about building capacity for global relevance. It's interesting because earlier in the year I was in a session as well, and I was talking about building a brand that attracts international markets. And I'm like, I kind of reflected on my own journey and reflected on just all the things I've done and how I've been building my brand and things like that. And I said this one again, I'm like, building capacity for global relevance. I'm like, it's all the same, it's all global. And I love how institutions, organizations like Vanguard, are positioning or building that culture of having young people think about global positioning. It's very important. And just like Caleb said, he said, you don't need to japa before you can be global. So we're going to go into this topic, right? When we say building capacity for global relevance, what does it mean? And what am I going to be talking about in the next 20 minutes? So we're going to do an introduction. We're going to talk about building capacity. We're going to then look at some things I identify as the pillars to building capacity, and then talk about going global, right? And then take questions after them. So if you're excited, let me see in the chat, put in excited. One thing I don't want to do, or one thing I don't like to do, is I don't like to, once I'm talking, I definitely want to have, engagement. I want to know how you're feeling. I want to know, get feedback from you as well. So please stay engaged all through. We're going to move on. Before we proceed, a couple of things I want to find out from us is, okay, so I need to perfect. Sorry, 1 second. I want to be able to see the chat so we can take it from there. But a couple of things I want to first find out, are you able to view my screen as presenter view, or you're viewing everything? So Demi, can you let me know if you're able to view my screen on presenter mode, or you're able to view my screen, you're able to view everything.
I can see everything.
Everything.
I can see everything.
Okay, so 1 second, let me.
Oh, okay. You mean just limited to how to build capacity? How do you build capacity?
Yeah, how do you build capacity? That's the only thing you can see? Okay, perfect. So let's go on. Okay, perfect. How do you build capacity? How do you build capacity? When you're building capacity for global relevance, how do you build capacity? What comes to your mind? Like, what are your expectations when you saw this program, you saw this program, saw this conversation and everything? what comes to your mind? Like, what are your expectations? Like, okay, what are my expectations from this conversation? So let's start with that. What are your expectations? Maybe 1 or 2 people that you're like, at the end of this program, I want to be able to leave here with this. Okay, we can take from Faith. Yeah, Ede, you can go on. That's Ede, Chinagoram, Faith. Or you can also write in the chat. Someone says, improving myself to make impact on the global world. That's great. To learn and connect with distinguished leaders. Okay. Okay, love the feedback so far. Put in the chat. Learn something new in my journey of personal development, putting myself in that improves my personal skills, add value to my life to improve. Awesome, awesome. I really, really love the feedback, love the engagement. Thank you guys so much. So now we're going to go into the conversation. I thank you for sharing that, expectations from this program or this masterclass, what you expected from it. We're able to align and be sure that at the end of this conversation, that piece is achieved. You're getting that value. So when you hear about capacity, how do you build capacity? What does it take? What exactly is building capacity? There are so many buzzwords that we use that you're like, what is even the meaning of this word, right? What exactly is building capacity? How do you build capacity as an individual? Okay, we have some building capacity for global relevance means developing the skills and knowledge needed to thrive in a globalized world. It involves understanding different cultures, adapting to diverse. Wow. I see that we definitely have some A students here, being able to compete and collaborate on a global scale. Okay, but what is building capacity? Building capacity itself, what does it mean? Seen a couple of feedback here in the chat. All right, thank you so much for your engagement. And it's good to establish that because a lot of times it's like build capacity. What's capacity? So we're going to get into that. So the United Nations defines capacity building. Capacity building is also something that organizations do, but we're going to focus on this as individuals. Defines capacity building as the process of developing and strengthening your skills, your instincts, your abilities, your processes, resources that you need to thrive in a fast-changing world. Think about everything that has brought you, to where you are right now. It says it's also the process of obtaining, improving, retaining the skills needed to do a job competently and to achieve greater impact, right? If you think about, and I'm going to share my story as an example. I graduated in 2016 and I studied microbiology, So I know we have a couple of law students here. This is like a law zone. I always find myself in a lot of law conversations, but this is still applicable to pretty much anyone who is an undergraduate trying to navigate and things like that. I graduated in 2016, graduated with a microbiology degree. And in my 3rd year, I just knew that this microbiology is not it. I think you guys that wanted to study law and then got law as your course, you are the selected few. Some of us wanted to study medicine and they gave us microbiology. And some people wanted to study a particular course and was given another course. So wanted to study this, I was given plant biology or zoology or name it, right? So I did microbiology and I was in the science space. But then in my 3rd year, I knew this is not what I wanted. I don't want to do this all my life. I was working as an intern and what we had to do were testing samples every day, and I'm like, no, this is not what I'm going to do for my entire life, right? So how did I move from 2016 when I graduated college or graduated university with a second class 2-2? So second class though, when I tell people I graduated with 2-2, they don't believe it. And even me too, I don't believe it. But we get that conversation is a conversation for another day. But how did I go from, being a 2-2 graduate of microbiology from the University of Ilorin now to working with Microsoft, or to, being a nominee for an Outstanding Delegate Award at the Youth Assembly in UN last year, or just, that 6 years gap. How did I go from that clueless graduate to what I'm doing now? That process is called capacity building. And what is interesting about that process is that it is a continuous effort. In the next 5 years, I'll look at myself and say, how did I go from, being a business program manager at Microsoft, or being whatever I'm doing right now, to being the director of a global company that's racking in millions, or things like that. And after then, I'll still look. All that process is capacity building. It's a continuous process of developing and strengthening your skills, developing and strengthening your abilities to do more, to be more competent, to thrive, not just survive, but to thrive in a fast-changing world. A couple of people, would be, done with school and just be like, I just want to survive. I just want to be earning 150K or 200K or 300K, and I'm okay, right? And they're just okay with what they're doing. They stay on the same level for that long. They don't develop themselves. They don't, learn new skills. They don't upskill themselves. They don't gain exposure. They don't, build capacity for the next level. It's pretty much easy. Like, before you get to a level, you must have been getting prepared to thrive in that level. Because, some people, when they just give them opportunities, so said, was a popular quote that someone wrote. I posted like 2 years ago on LinkedIn that, a lot of people could relate to it. It says, on your way to the stage, like as you're building capacity, and I'm trying to remember how that quote exactly was, but it's like, as you're going to the stage, as you're going to that platform, as you're going to that stage where you're speaking to multiple people, or you're going to perform, or reaching out to multiple people, that process on your way to that stage is where you start building capacity. You don't start building capacity when I tell you, Adedoja, I give you this responsibility, go to China and go and do this. You're like, go to China. How am I going to do? I say, go and represent your school. I don't even know what to do. You start building capacity now. It's an ongoing process. It's something that you start to do now, so that when you get to that point where your competence is needed, your competence does not get questioned, right? And I put it here, I'm a Christian, so one thing I want to believe, one thing I always try to resonate with a lot of young people is that God wants us to dominate the earth, right? Wherever you are right now, and you're like, He's giving you so much gifts that you need to develop, right? Just having those gifts and those talents and not improving yourself, it's like you're wasting the resources that He has given to you. You know by yourself that there's something unique about you, but you're just not developing that piece, right? So how that process of graduating in 2016 to being where I am right now took a whole lot of capacity building, and I'm still building myself. I'm still building my capacity. And we're going to go into this, right? When you talk about building capacity, there's so many things you can get, like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, you can see like 10 different things. When they tell you build capacity, you can see like 10 or 12 different things, like, oh, this is what you need to do to build capacity, right? But I kind of sat down as I was thinking through this, and I was thinking about what I wanted to share today, and things that have helped me in my own personal journey that I think it's applicable to a lot of people. I thought about these 3 pillars of building capacity. And when you think about building capacity, you cannot build capacity without investing in personal development. It's impossible. So and I'm a personal development advocate, because I tell people that me going from that 2016, 2016 graduate student, undergraduate student that I just graduated, to doing this now took a lot of personal development, took a lot of effort to personally develop myself. And how did that all start? When I graduated, I said to myself, I'd applied to jobs. Oh my God, tell me about it. I applied to different jobs. I applied to I applied to Access Bank. Oh God, I applied to Access Bank a lot. They will always reject and say, oh, they're looking for 2-1 a loan. I was applying to a lot of organizations, multinational. I knew I wanted to work with a multinational company, but it's like they didn't want me back, I was trying so much. But guess what? I didn't even know how to write a resume, right? Nobody taught me that in University of Ilorin. And I see like right now we're seeing a lot of programs, and I'm so glad that there's a lot of initiatives like this. I didn't know what my resume should look like. I didn't even know what LinkedIn was in 2016. LinkedIn, what is that? What's it for? What do they use it for? Right? I didn't even know how to position myself to even get these opportunities. And then I sat down and I said, where am I right now? And what do I need to do to get to where I'm at? And that was that process that I began to build myself. Another pillar I definitely want to highlight in this process of building capacity, especially with, in the context of global relevance, is personal branding. Personal branding is so important. I guess this is something that I definitely want to also resonate with us on this call today. Personal branding is very important. What do people say about you when you're not in the room? Like if you come to meet me now, like I said, I've known Caleb since 2016, 2017, right? And I've started to build this brand, is someone that even if I don't engage with him so much and you tell me, oh, and we need to recommend someone, I'm like, Caleb Adebayo. Caleb Adebayo, if you were in NYC Ubra camp, is a name you always hear because Caleb was the person who would always give the news. He would always, building that personal brand where you know what you want people to know you as, and you maintain that brand is very important because that's how you get recommended for global opportunities. In 2020, there was an Beijing China conference or Beijing Africa Week that happened in China. Now, I've never traveled to China. Well, what am I saying? At that time, I'd never even traveled out internationally, right? And somebody reached out to me and said to me, oh, we have this Beijing Africa Week, and we have a segment on youth development or African youth development. And we want you to coordinate and moderate that session. We're going to be having the ambassador for, I'm trying to remember what country, but it was like the ambassador for that country to China, give the opening speech, and you're going to have, and they shared me all the schedule of the event. And I'm like, this is me from Nigeria. And somebody reaching out to me all the way from China to moderate this event centered on young people, young Africans in China. And I said to myself, how would they have reached out to me? Fine, I've been building capacity. I've been upskilling myself. I've been doing a lot of things. But I'd also been building my brand. I'd also been building my brand to make sure like people know that this is what I do. This is what I want to be identified for or identified with. And this lady connected with me on LinkedIn and said to me, we would love for you to be here to moderate. We know you're, and the way she was hyping me up and everything. I said, I've never even traveled I've not even traveled to any Asian country. And here was I moderating, this event. Here was I connecting with people, here was I, being in Nigeria, but already being global, right? People, they were already like, oh, we're going to have this person from Nigeria, all the way from Lagos, Nigeria, and all of that stuff. So there are a lot of opportunities for you to, as you're building capacity, for you to get to that, in that context of global relevance. Personal branding is definitely a pillar I want to highlight. As you're developing yourself, build your brand in such a way that you know what you stand for, and you know what you want people to know that you stand for as well. And then the third part is growth mindset. And growth mindset is so important because without growth mindset, you would not grow, right? Building capacity, we've established it's a continuous process. I'm still building capacity for the next level. I'm right here doing strategy, and I'm here trying to upskill myself with AI. I want to be that leader that can talk about artificial intelligence, things like that. So building capacity is a lifelong process, right? But 3 things that would help you to build capacity in the context of global relevance is personal development, personal branding, and growth mindset. having that growth mindset is what helped me from being rejected at Access Bank, like, I don't know, maybe 4 times, to 3 years down the line or 4 years down the line, winning an award from CIBN as Next Generation Award for Young Bankers Under 30, right? So I didn't get stuck up on, oh my God, I'm not good enough. With that fixed mindset, I'm not good enough. Who's going to employ me? I probably should just go and find one job as a personal assistant or just do something and just make money. But I was like, no, I was very relentless. I said, I'm going to take this feedback and I'm going to get to that point where when you want to hire me, you're not even looking at my degree. You're not even looking at this anymore because I've built so much capacity. And I had gotten to that point. And when they told me I was, nominated for that award, I'm like, okay. And then when I eventually got the award, I'm like, okay. So it's those 3 things I want us to take it. Well, let's say put in your left hand or put in your right hand. I don't even know, I can't remember, but don't let it go. And we're going to quickly, and then can you please tell me when I have 10 minutes left, let me know. But I'm going to quickly walk through those 3 pillars and then touch on going global. And then we can take questions and, take feedback afterwards. So when I say to build capacity, you need building capacity in the context of global relevance, right? First thing you need to do to build capacity is personal development. You need to take personal development as your friend, as your brother, continuous improvement, right? As, as an ally, and how do you do that? The first part is self-assessment. You need to get to that point where you're very self-aware. You're aware of yourself. You're aware of your skills that I tell you, Irat, what are you very good at? You should be able to tell me, oh, I'm good at public speaking, good at networking. What are you not good at? Like, I'm not good at, my analytical skills are not really good. My social skills are not really good. You need to get to that point where you're very self-aware. You know about your skills, you know your personality, you know your interest. Like I said, when I graduated in 2016, I knew I did not want to do microbiology. And I was like, okay, what am I going to build a career in? I don't know if anybody in the house is like me, but one thing that I thought when I was starting out was I said, I can do any career path and be successful. Has anybody thought about that? Like, I can be an HR person, I'm successful. I can be a salesperson, I'm successful. I can be a marketing executive, I'm successful. I can do any field, I'm successful. Has that ever come to anybody's mind? Just put in the chat. Let's get the reaction going. You've ever thought like, what am I going to do? Like, I can do this and be successful. Or you're a lawyer and you're like, I can do corporate law and be successful. I can do IP law and be successful. I can do this part of law and be successful. I can do all this type of law and be successful. Anybody thinking like that? Okay, we have some people. And you know why you're thinking like that? You're thinking like that because you're someone who knows that whatever it takes for you to be successful in that field, you are going to give it your all. You are going to learn and you're going to understand and you're going to be best at it. That's why you're thinking like that. Because I was like, I can do anything and be successful at it. Because like whatever it takes for you to learn, to be good at it, you are ready to learn. And that's a really, really great, mindset to have. That's a really, really great knowledge or understanding to have. That's a great personality. That's a really great mindset to have. Now, however, you can do many things, but that there are some things that you are just so good at. People come to you for that. You're very interested in it. It gets you going. You can wake up at night doing it, right? That is that point of self-assessment, self-awareness, where you learn about your skills, you learn about your personality and your interests. I knew that I could do anything and be successful in it, but I knew that one thing that kept me going was thinking. Like, if you tell me, oh, what do you think about this? I always have something for you. I can problem so many things. I'm like, let's do it like this. And when we do it like this, we can do. I had that execution excellence thinking where you tell me you want to do something and I can tell you from beginning to end everything you need to get whatever you need to do done and how you can even be successful at it, track, measure, all of that. And that got me excited. And I just didn't even know what that role was called until I started to do a lot of self-assessment tests. And I'll share some links in the chat when I'm done. on like self-assessment tests you can do to learn about your skills, your personality, and your interests. And once I did that, I'm like, okay, this is called strategy, right? And I'm like, I want to be a strategist, right? And that was where I, started to, build capacity on that. And my first job wasn't a strategist, right? And we're going to get into that, right? But moving on, so self-assessment is very important. Self-discovery is also that part of you getting self-aware, where you're like, these are my strengths. This is what I'm not good at. Somebody told me, said, I don't like numbers. Anything that concerns numbers, just remove me. I've tried. And you know what the person is doing now is a UI UX designer, and he's really good at it. It's like, I don't like numbers. I can do it if I have to. I've done a lot of trainings, but if you want me to build it as a profession, I cannot. So identify your strengths and your weaknesses, right? When you self-assess your skills, you know what you're good at. You know what you want to build capacity at. You know what you're not good at, what you also want to build capacity in, right? What you want to develop yourself, and you have a focus. Now, another part of that is goal setting. You need to have like short-term goals and long-term goals, right? And take it step by step. Like I said, my first job out of school wasn't, I wanted to be a strategist. Like I knew that back, like when I started my first job, and I was doing a lot of self-assessment, skilling and everything, or tests and everything. But when I got employed as, I was when they first employed me, they were like, we need a receptionist. I say, receptionist, God forbid, never in my life. I went to school for 4 years to be a receptionist. I'm like, no, I can't do that. And they were like, okay, no, it's not like you're a receptionist though. Okay, we modify it. We just need someone to manage the office. We need someone to, and then they were like, we'll train you to be a business analyst. I'm like, okay. And they said, they're going to pay my certification and everything. And at that point, I was like, I'm not going to get this job. And I had a mentor at the time tell me, take the job, get that learning as a business analyst. They're going to pay for your certification. They were partners with Oracle, with Microsoft at the time, with several OEMs, right? So they said, take the job, learn that certification, and use that for your next level. So, okay, that sounds good. And I said, I give myself 6 months to be on this job, learn this thing, take all the certifications I can take in that 6 months, be so good at this job, become a business analyst, and then leave. And that's exactly what happened, right? I knew what I wanted on the long run. I knew I wanted to work with a multinational technology company. But as that wasn't coming forth at the time, I was ready to set that short-term goal to work in this company that was going to give me free access, free training, paper certification, and then use that, leverage that. So it's very important. And action is the most important thing. When you want to build capacity, you want to develop yourself, you need to take action. It's not enough to just say, this is what I want to do. This is what I feel like doing. You need to take action. I'm going to quickly go through this very quickly. I still have literally like some few minutes left. Now, building a personal brand, like I said, in the context of global relevance, when you develop yourself so well, you also need to build a brand that positions you globally, that positions you out of your geographical location, that positions you out of Nigeria, out of Lagos, wherever country you might be right now. All right. So you need to be clear about what your brand is about. You need to identify your identity. If I Google Babatunde Badijo now online, what do I see? Do I see a law student that is, thriving? And what do I see? Right. Do I see you post on Twitter and just posting stuff that is not even, that you won't want to be associated with your brand? Do I see you posting stuff that is not, brand worthy, right? Who are your audience? Who are people that you want to listen to? How do you build visibility? Join industry groups. If you have a law student association or some student association, join it. If there's a global law student association, join it, right? There might be a global law student association from law students all over the world. Join it. It is a debate competition for law students. Join it, right? And start building a consistent messaging. Let people know what you stand for. Let me be able to say, somebody reaches out to me and say, I need a law student, an African law student. And I'm like, oh, I know this person. I've been in a conversation of 80 or 85 law students, but this person stands out for me, or I engage with this person on LinkedIn. Some people would even recommend you when they have not even engaged with you. They just you've just been able to build that trust based on what you share. Not recently, a couple of years back, I recommended one of my mentees, for what's the name of this thing? So some sort of fellowship, right? And it was very easy for me to, it was about 6 months. I, started the whole mentoring stuff. And then after that, I'm like, you know what? I can recommend you for this because I know that you will deliver because of the brand that he has built, and I was ready to associate with it. And I also knew it was given to personal development. So we've talked about personal development. We talked about personal branding. Now, growth mindset, which is going to help you as you build capacity long through, right? Growth mindset is that part where you get to that point where you say, I can learn to do anything I want. I can become this, I can become that. I'm taking feedback. I will continue to build my abilities. I'm going to continue to try new things. You're going to try to be culturally aware and things like that. So growth mindset is super, super important. So moving on, I think this is going to be my last slide. Now let's talk about going global, right? I've been building capacity. I've really improved myself in the past couple of years. I've been building my brand. People know about my brand. I have a growth mindset. I'm ready to learn. But how do I grow global? How do I get internationally recognized? How do I, get to that point where people know about what I'm doing? Right. First thing is think global. Be prepared for the global audience that you want to meet. You will meet people, you meet different people, be open-minded, you meet different people, you meet different cultures, stay culturally aware. Don't just be so stuck up in Nigeria that you can't even have a conversation with someone on something else. You don't even know what is happening. They're talking about something that you're like, I don't even have any idea of what's going on. Be prepared for that global audience. I said prioritize personal development, be internationally exposed. And how can you be internationally exposed? There are a couple of Model United Nations events happening where you meet people from different backgrounds, from different countries. There are a couple of fellowships where you get to meet people. There are a couple of things where you get to meet people. Like I said jokingly, I said, I have friends all over the world. And that's not, or maybe not friends, maybe colleagues, but all over the world. I needed to go to like Dominican Republic sometime this year. And I was like, oh, I don't know anybody there. And one of all these groups where I do like World Bank Youth Summits, delegates from different countries, or Youth Assembly delegates from like 100 and something countries. I just put there, who lives in Dominican Republic? Somebody messaged me, oh, I'm there. And then when I traveled there, she hosted me. I met her family. She even introduced me to the organization she was working with for us to explore possible partnership with them. And interesting like that. So even from Nigeria, I started connecting with people globally that were doing awesome things. So be prepared, think global, right? Develop borderless relationships. This is very important. Networking is very important because you can only, I don't know if you heard of this thing, is it 5 degrees of connection? Somebody that you know. The more you increase that, the more you increase your network, is the more you increase your visibility, because somebody that knows you can recommend you for something, right? So connect to global audience, join worldwide industry groups on LinkedIn, join industry associations, volunteer. Started to volunteer with IIBA long time when I started doing this business analysis thing. So apply for international opportunities. Don't be shy. Apply for it. Apply. Right? Get someone to review your application. Get Debola, get Caleb. Message me. Tell us. Review my application. I want to apply for this. Apply for those international opportunities. One Young World, they will literally take care of your expense. And so many opportunities like that where you get to meet people and develop that borderless relationships, right? And then seek information, like research, be culturally aware, read new things, read about the Soviet Union, read about currency, read about this, read about what is going on the global side, and be technology savvy. That's something I also want to put in there. Be competent, know about the latest technologies, AI, machine learning, know about what robotics process automation, what's all that. Take a minute of your day, read, quest for knowledge. And I said here, lean on God for direction. So thank you. Really thank you so much for your time. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me here. Before I close out, just put it in the chat, what is something that you've learned today that you're going to take action on? And I would like if, at least 50% of everyone can put in the chat, because, it's very easy for you to join things and you're like, okay, what did I learn today? What am I going to take action on? But if it's just one line, what did you learn today that you're going to take action on? Let's have it in the chat. And Pemi, you can take over. We can reduce the Q&A. I know I've time a bit. So, but I want to know from everyone, what's that thing you learned and you're going to take action on from this conversation or from the conversations you've heard so far? Let's see it in the chat. Thank you so much.
Up. Biggest round of applause. Thank you very much, Ma. I didn't expect less. Going through your profile, seeing some of your interviews, I didn't expect less, and you really surpassed our expectations. Thank you very much, Ma. So for me personally, I cannot agree more on the fact that building capacity is a continuous thing. It's a continuous thing. There's no stoppage to how much you can learn, how much you can build yourself. And there's this quote from The Richest Man in Babylon, one of the books that we were reviewing during our financial literacy series at the Vanguard Africa. And it says, opportunity is a haughty goddess who wastes no time with those who are unprepared. So dear participants, I want to encourage you, please continue to build yourself. If you see that you don't have a skill that is necessary for a job, ensure that you build it if you really want to, work there. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. Please, if you have questions, please send them in through the chat box and Ms. Kosala will take them. Thank you. Okay, Ma. There's a question from Mohammed Usman Kamara. Yes, Ma, if I want to form a political organization, what's the first step to take through capacity building?
So, interesting question. Political organization. So I'm not going to answer that question as specifically addressing political organizations. I've never formed a political organization before, but there's certain requirements that would be necessary for you to form a political organization in terms of membership, in terms of so many things, right? And I think you also need to buy some forms that cost a lot of money, but not to say that to discourage you. So I'm going to answer that question in a broader scope. If you need to do something that's a big tax, how do you build capacity to do that? Like I said, you need to identify what is needed. What do I need to be on Forbes list, or what do I need to, what's this, Chevening scholarship? What do I need to be on, be a Chevening scholar, right? You need to first find out whatever that goal that you have, however big it is, whatever goal it is, and you want to try to, how do I get this? You need to first understand what is necessary to get there. Chevening will say, oh, we need this, we require this, we require this, we require that. I know at some point someone has said, oh, 2-1 is necessary for Chevening, but somebody got in with a 2-2 and he shared a story about how he got in and the other things. So you first need to first find out what is required for me to do this. Now, after doing that, if you're getting an understanding of that stuff or what that goal is, the next part is self-awareness. Where are you now? Do you have all it takes based on the requirements to get to that thing? Are there some gaps? So you have to do some situational analysis, as you're self-aware, like knowing yourself, do you have everything that's needed right now to achieve that task, whether it's building a political organization or, getting into some very tough fellowship or something? Do you have what it takes to get it? No, you don't. Yes, you do. What are the gaps, right? Identify the gap, capacity towards the gaps, right? You need to have 2 years experience and stuff. Build that. You need to have this, do that. Also speak to people, right? speak to people who have gone through that process, attend informational sessions. If you know someone that's built a political organization, after you have done your research, reach out to them, get first-hand knowledge of what they've done, and then use that. Pretty much what you're doing is you're understanding the gaps needed, and you're closing that gap by building capacity in that thing. So building capacity is not a buzzword. Building capacity is a process of you developing your skills to get to whatever goals that you've highlighted or that you want to achieve. So I hope that answered your question. So political context, find out what you need to open a political group, reach out to somebody who has done that successfully, identify where you are and what you need, and work towards it, and you would achieve that.
Thank you, Ma. I hope that answers the question. Okay, Ma. The next question is, what's the part of mentorship in capacity building?
Very great question.
What is the role of mentorship?
Very great question. Mentorship plays a very significant role in capacity building or in personal development, if I would put. Because one thing with personal development is you're identifying, you're getting self-aware. You know what interests you, you know what you want to do, you know the
We can't hear you, Ma. Sorry, can you hear?
Someone.
Okay, please let's wait for. Network is probably acting up. Hello, Ma, are you back? Oh, yes, Ma.
Okay, sorry, it's great to be back. I don't know, I had a glitch in my network, but yeah, it's great to be back. So yeah, mentorship plays a key role. Once you identify, you're aware of your interest, of your goals and things like that, and you find someone who has walked that path, you can learn from them, and you're taking out that process of you testing and not working. You're taking that guidance, that tailored guidance that's helping you achieve a more better outcome. So mentorship is very important. I also want to emphasize this because I see it a lot. You can get mentorship from someone directly and indirectly, right? You don't always have to spam people. And that's one thing personal development will help you do, will stand you out. When you're very aware of what you want, you won't just reach out to anybody and say, come and mentor me, come and mentor me. You know what you want, you know the gaps, you know what you're looking to learn, you know what you are, the kind of people that you want to connect with. And it's very tailored. You're saying, come and mentor me in this. I already started this process, but I need guidance on this. You also have a personal brand that the person also sees that, oh, this person is also, knows what they're doing. I can trust to invest my time in coaching this person. And if there's someone you admire that you're unable to contact, read their books, listen to their audiobooks, read their books, watch their interviews, engage with their posts. You get to learn from them that way. Another thing with mentorship is also value, right? So I always say, like, the currency of mentorships or building relationship is value. You cannot just reach out to people and say, come and mentor me. The question is why, right? But then you message somebody and say, oh, I really want to be a corporate lawyer. I see that you've excelled in corporate law and you've done this and that and that. And I really would love a session or a coffee chat with you to learn about how you did this. And then the person, you have that conversation with the person sees that you're also added somewhere. There's some value you bring to the table as well. But when you have not invested in personal development, you're not even aware of what you want. You just want to connect with every successful lawyer that you know. Even when you have a conversation, you realize that you will struggle in that conversation. So bring value to the table as well.
Thank you, Ma. Thank you, Ma, for that. I'll be asking just 2 more questions. The first one is, applying to opportunities is very time consuming and exhaustive. I end up in a trap of applying for everything and not being able to focus on actually building up. How do I prioritize and narrow down the opportunities?
Great question. Like I said, and that's why I said in capacity building, personal development is a major pillar. And one major pillar of personal development is self-awareness. When you're self-aware, it would help you not waste time on things that are not very particular, applicable to you, right? I remember the time when we would go for conferences, just any conference we saw, we'd go. I'm not going to be attending just any type of conference because it's not useful to me. I'm self-aware. I know what I want. I know the kind of gatherings I want to be. I know what I'm good at. I know what I want to build more capacity on. I know what I'm not so good at, what I want to build. I know what I'm good at that I want to be excellently good at, right? So you need to first find out you need to be very self-aware. What is it that you want as a person? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your goals? What do you want to do? What kind of opportunities will help you get to that goal or give you that visibility or exposure that you need? You don't need to be in every opportunity. I remember somebody reached out to me earlier this year and said, they wanted to invite me to speak at a climate action youth event. I said, I'm sorry, I can't come. I can recommend somebody who's a climate action advocate. It doesn't align to me because it's an SDG goal. I'm not focused on all the SDG goals, right? So me saying, I want to just go there, or I want to apply to climate action. You see water and energy. I want to apply to water and energy. You see something, you want to apply to that. Without any focus, you're just going, you see journalism, you apply. You just keep going to different events, applying. That is not suitable to you. If you're passionate about education, then look at the education ones. You would even get more results because you already started building capacity in that, and then that would help you. So first of all, be self-aware, know what interests you have, know what goals that you want, and then apply to conferences or events that give you that exposure or that exposure that you need to fill that gap or to build that interest or that weakness, that something that you need, right? Don't just apply to anything. Save your strength, save your time. Time is one of the things that we have as assets as young people. The way that you use your time right now will determine a lot of things because you get busy in the future. So utilize that time right now. The only time you need to probably go for an event that is not liking to you at all is maybe there's a speaker there that you're trying to connect with or something. But don't just go with things that are not. Be intentional. Be very intentional with life, with what you do, with how you use your time. So if you do that, it will definitely help you. And you won't waste time applying to things, because imagine me applying for climate action now, I'll start struggling. They ask you, write 300 words about why you should be here. You don't have anything to write. But if you tell me apply for an education or job stuff, I have 1,000 words, right? So be intentional, manage your time, know your interests, and be self-aware, and that would help you.
Oh, that was quite helpful, Ma. Thank you, Ma. And finally, what global communities would you recommend for someone aspiring to work with the United Nations?
Oh, that's a great question. So if you want to work with the United Nations, definitely apply to the Youth Assembly. Apply to World Bank Youth Summit. There are a couple of them. What I'm going to do in the chat is I'll post links of opportunity sites, so you can sign up to their newsletter. They will send you a weekly recap of top opportunities every year. Also on the UN website as well, connect with UN Youth Envoy on Instagram, follow them, sign up to their newsletter as well. So United Nations Youth Envoy, but UN Youth Envoy on IG. Sign up on their newsletter. UN Youth Envoy will always post when there are events or when there are opportunities for young people in the UN. And that's one way that you can connect with them. Also, so stay updated on those opportunity channels. Follow UN Youth Envoy, and that's one way you can connect with people. Also find out people that work at the UN, connect with them too on LinkedIn. I always say shoot your shot sometimes, so you can reach out to people and say, oh, I'm really interested in doing an internship, but do your research first, because that way they won't say, I saw this opportunity, I've applied, can you guide me on applying? Or I saw this opportunity, I want to apply, can you guide me? People will reach out to you. There's this lady who got into IFC, and I had reached out to her. I said, so you go into IFC, and it's a very tough application. Can you spare some time to share with people in my community how you did it? And people would resonate with that, but you also need to bring value to the table, right? So you can also shoot your shot as well. But connect with UN Youth Envoy, and I'll post the other links in the chat as well.
All right. Thank you very much, Ma. Thank you once again, Ma. We really appreciate your time and the value, the wisdom that you've given us this. Thank you very much, Ma. We are very grateful. Vanguard Africa appreciates you, and we say God bless you. Thank you, Ma. Thank you, Ma.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, Ma. Have a nice day, Ma. All right. Yes, Ma. So our dear participants, we say a big thank you for actively participating, registering, and even joining today's session. I hope that you did enjoy the session even as much as I did, and that you've learned one or two things. I'll be pleading with you, don't just learn these things and put them in your pocket. Make sure you put them to use. And then when you see beautiful programs like this that actually sharpen your knowledge, even as a youth, as a young person, endeavor to join such programs. So in case this is your first time at the Vanguard Africa, this is our masterclass, which we do yearly, and this is the 3rd edition. Yes, so we do the weekly village meeting every Saturday. We have a village meeting every Saturday where we do things like this. We learn, we groom ourselves, we train ourselves, we enjoy ourselves, basking in knowledge, we rub minds together. So basically, if you want to know more about the Vanguard Africa, you can check out our website at thevanguardafrica.org. You'll see it in the chat box. Please, Vanguard Babatunde, help us send it there, thevanguardafrica.org. And you can check out our social media pages. We're on LinkedIn as the Vanguard Africa. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. So thank you very much. If you want to join the Vanguard Africa, you're welcome. We'd love to have you. We'd love to know you. We'd love to build you up also, and we'd love to learn from you. Thank you very much. So we'll continue next week. Next week's masterclass, 7th of October, with Mr. Michel Agatishe, a senior associate of the popular and prestigious Olaniwu Ajayi. So you know that we are not bringing small people to come and talk to you. You'll be taking us on the ethics and etiquette of global personalities. So please invite your friends for next week masterclass. Don't just carry all these things to yourselves. Share with your friends, share the link, let them register. Thank you very, very much for joining today and for actively participating once again. So we'll be taking the closing prayer now. Our Father, we thank you for another opportunity to learn. We thank you because this masterclass, the first day, was successful. We thank you for blessing us with so much wisdom and value. We say, be thou exalted in the name of Jesus. Lord, we know that in this place, there are world leaders, change makers, there are giants here who are bringing solutions to the problems of nations. We ask, oh God, that you help us, even as we plan and as we try to learn more, as we try to build ourselves, as we endeavor to go on this personal development journey. We ask, oh God, that you continue to help and guide us in Jesus' name. Thank you, Lord Jesus, because you've heard us. We ask, oh God, that you continue to keep us, continue to protect everybody here. And we pray, oh God, that we shall see each and every face here, every participant here in the next in the next masterclass coming up 7th of October next week, Saturday. In Jesus' name, amen. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining in. Have a great rest of the evening. Thank you. Bye-bye.